Hey guys, it's Marian again, and I'm back with another video today. Like I promised in my last video, this one is going to be about how I organize my fandoms into tiers like a cake. So if you really want to know how I organize my fandoms, then just keep watching. So the way that I organize them, you've ever seen those 3 tiers cakes? That's why I call them in my tiers. We have the one at the bottom, the one in the middle, and the one at the top. That's literally what I do with my fandoms. But it's also kind of like you're at a reception for a wedding and there's a buffet. So you have the cake in the middle with the 3 tiers, but then you have cupcakes. So I also have cupcake fandoms. So the first thing you need to know about my tier cake of fandoms is that it's not an even cake. It looks like what someone would do if they wanted to make like a Picasso cake, I guess. It's like if you took the middle tier and the bottom tier and you swapped them. Because I have way more fandoms in my middle tier than I do in any other tier. And it's also like slim pickings buffet because there aren't a lot of cupcakes on that table. And it's like somebody took the cake, put the middle tier on the bottom, put the bottom tier on top, then decided that they wanted to get fancy because it's like a fancy wedding cake, and then put those little pillars, you know? What kind of cake I'm talking about? The fancy little pillars that hold up the top tier. I have those on my cake too because, honestly, if I'm being honest with myself and with you, there are a few fandoms that I should put in my top tier, but I kind of don't want to because my top tier are my identifying fandoms. Like the 4 fandoms that everybody that I know knows I love. And these ones, everybody knows that I love and they talk to me about them all the time as well. But those were my first 4 fandoms. The first 4 that I actually considered a fandom of mine. Something that I joined in the last video. It was Doctor Who, Sherlock, Merlin, and Supernatural. And so those are my 4. Those are my little top tier of the cake. So I have a hard time putting other things with them, but I should, because more often than not, the people that I know also identify me as in these fandoms. But they're still relatively new to me, so I don't want to yet. Anyway, my top fandoms, how I organize them, is that the top one, literally on my mind all the time. Any moment of any day, you can say something, and I will probably think of something that has to do with one of those fandoms. Like, they are my favorites. They are always there, always playing, any time of any day. My middle tier are shows, books, bands, movies, any franchises of any kind that I really like and I obsess over and I talk over very frequently, but I'm not as obsessive. Like, I can put them out of my mind for some time. When they come back, they're really strong, but they aren't always in my mind. Like if it's a show. Let's give an example. One of my middle tiers is the Flareoverse on CW. If you don't know what Flareoverse is, that's Arrow, Flash, Supergirl, Legends of Tomorrow. There's all the superhero shows that are on CW. They're in my middle tier. See, I like those shows a lot, but if I miss an episode, I'm not heartbroken over it. But Supernatural, in my top tier, still a running show to this day. If I miss an episode of Supernatural, I am freaking out. Freaking out. So it's different. I like those shows a lot. I want to catch them on TV. I want to know as soon as possible. But if I have a family obligation on the same night, or a friend wants to go out on the same night, and I have to wait a couple of days to watch it, I'm okay with that. And I have other things like that too, like movies. I'm not immediately going to see that movie. I can wait a while. Then again, Marvel is one of those things in the fancy cake, and I'm just like, I can wait a while to watch this movie, even though it's a Marvel movie, but then really I can't. I can't. And it's really okay because my husband is the exact same way. Like, we both love Marvel so much. So much. But we do like DC as well. Then my bottom tier is the fandoms that I really like, but not as much. And if I miss an entire half of a season, I'm not bothered by it. I'll just catch up to it later. Maybe I'll binge it and I'll love it, but then it'll just like go back into the backs of my mind, like on old shows. I've done that before. So it's things that I like and I talk about fairly frequently, but not a lot. Not a lot. These are things you probably would know I had talked about maybe once, but don't know if I still like. Then there are the cupcakes. And the cupcakes are the things that I've watched and I've liked, but I will not seek them out again. If they're there, I will watch them. If there's nothing else that I prefer on, I will watch them, I will listen to them, I will read them. But for the most part, it's a one and done, you know? Like, I really liked that. That was great. But I'm probably never going to talk about it unless you bring it up. And then I'll be like, yeah, that was awesome. I totally liked that. But then I'll just be like, yeah, okay. Moving on with life. And then there are just the things that I don't like. They're not even on the table. I honestly can't give you an example of one of those, though, because I tend to like a lot of the things that people tell me I would like. They tend to be usually in my middle tier or bottom tier. One of them is in two of them are in the pillars. The time that it takes me to figure out what tier of a fandom I'm gonna put them in is actually relatively long, because I will binge something so hardcore that it is literally filling my whole mind with anything and everything. But a few months later, if I take a step back and I just sit and wait after I'm done with the binging, after I'm done with the absorbing as much information about it as I possibly can, then if it's still as prominent in my mind as I figured it would be in a certain tier before, then I put it in that tier. If it's not, then I put it in a tier that's different. Sometimes I think things are pillars and they're actually middle tier. Sometimes I think things are middle tier. After a while, I move them to bottom tier because they're not as major to me in my life as they once were. So things get moved around all the time. Like, there are things that move from bottom tier all the way up. There are things that move from middle tier clear to cupcake because so it's like, I get so invested in things, but I have to wait months after I binge it, or read it, or obsess over it to really decide what tier it belongs to. So it's actually kind of a long process, and things are always moving around. So I should honestly probably put several of the pillars up into my top tier, because it's been months and they're still on my mind all the time. There's others of them that I should probably move down to middle tier because they're on my mind frequently, but not very frequently. But there's still one right now that it hasn't been months. It's been months since I've discovered it, but it hasn't been months since I've been away from it. And so I have to wait a while more to decide. So maybe I'll do an update about that later, and I'll tell you if I moved all my pillars away or if I still have some pillars. If you guys want a video like that, comment, like this video, let me know anything that you guys would like to hear from me. If you want to know a little bit about which fandoms I have in which tier, go ahead and ask. I am not afraid to tell you guys everything I obsess over, but it is extensive. It is extensive. If you have a show or a book or a band or a movie or anything, you want to know whether I like it or you want to recommend it to me, totally let me know. I'll tell you what I think about it. Honestly, I will. I tend to like things more than I dislike things because I'm always a give people the benefit of the doubt kind of a person. And I once told my niece, I love everybody till they prove me wrong. So I'm one of those optimistic like people towards other people. Towards myself, I'm very pessimistic, but towards the world around me, I'm very optimistic. So if you think that there's something that I'd like, let me know. And next video, actually, I will tell you guys a little bit about my current obsessions, the things that are running through my mind very rapidly right now at this very moment in time, and things that I am obsessing over constantly these past few weeks. So, if you want to hear about that, subscribe and wait for my video, because it will come up next week. So, I will see you guys later.